Hey guys, it's Ben the Coin Geek at Old Pueblo Coin in Tucson, Arizona. Thanks for being here today for some Q&A. First, a little bit of housekeeping. This is being filmed in the first to middle part of November, and we are talking about getting ready for the big Tucson Coin Show, TucsonCoinshow.com, the Tucson Invitational Coin and Currency Expo, and we will be updating the website soon with more information as far as what type of little events we'll be able to host in the 2 days that we'll have the show. Also, if you go to casinodelsol.com, you can put in under the events and meetings tab up in the corner and find a place to go there. You can put in the code 8993. We'll have more of that available on our website. That's not up yet, but 8993. If you call the Casino del Sol, you can make reservations using the Coin Show and 8993 as the number. And so also, of course, as always, the show brought to you by the Coin Geek and Stax Bowers. Go ahead and follow us at Old Pueblo Coin or at the Coin Geek or on the community tab here on YouTube, and that's where you'll find more information as it comes out. So we have lots of different ways to get the information out, but hopefully we'll get to see a bunch of you in January. All right, on to the questions. Sinisai says, I love these coins, talking about Standing Liberty Quarters, but I'm having trouble finding sellers outside of eBay. Does your shop carry Blast White, Standing Liberty Quarters in mint state, or ideally in proof strike? I found an AU58 on eBay, but it cost me $200. I feel like I should be able to get a decent mint state coin for that price or a bit more. I simply do not know where to look. All right, so there's a couple different things to unpack here on this question. First, so the Standing Liberty Quarters do not come in a proof strike. They were issued for circulation from 1916 to 1930, and so they were issued only in mint state issues for the general public. Now, finding them, okay, this is the fun part. So they're hard to find for several reasons. First of all, the coins produced highly during the time of the Great Depression, and they spent and they spent and they spent, and they got circulated and circulated and circulated because money was very scarce back then. And so it was the type of thing that people would use. You could buy a lot of food for a quarter back in the 1920s and 30s. So most of the coins we see are very well worn. The second problem here, if you're looking for certified coins, is that most of those well-worn coins, they're not really worth getting certified because of the cost involved. And the third problem here is that when you have really nice AU coins, coins that are almost uncirculated, those are just hard to find raw or certified because of the price point, but also they're just scarce. They're hard to find. So if you go on eBay, you can find some stuff, but you got to be really careful because a lot of stuff on eBay has been cleaned. If you go to a large coin show, you're going to see hundreds of dealers. You'll have a hard time finding the coins still. So it's not just an eBay problem. It's not just a me problem. If I had them, whether they're worth getting certified or not may vary, but the reality is that they're just hard to locate in AU and even pretty scarce in mint state. So as you look around at coin shows, you'll see how infrequently you see nice Standing Liberty Quarters, especially those ones that are extra fine to AU. You'll see a lot of stuff that's going to be higher mint state because they were just saved on a shelf or really well worn. That entire time period, it's hard to find anything in between. Finding them online for online retailers is also difficult because for online retailers, generally speaking, you're going to want to use coins that are certified because they're easier to sell. The buyers are more likely to purchase it, and also they have barcodes, which make it easier for the seller to handle them. If you've got a point of sale system that scans coins, the barcodes, it makes it easier to create inventory, track inventory, and upload it. Doing raw coins is a little bit trickier because you've got to create all of your own inventory and barcode system on coins that are just in these like little flips, right? So a lot more difficult that way. So happy hunting, you're actually looking for something that's hard to find, and that is why you're having a hard time finding it. All right, hope that answers the question. All right, MLO4914, what's the name of that book? So we're talking about Standing Liberty Quarters still. And the J.H. Klein book on Standing Liberty Quarters is the book that I was referencing. This book is really a fascinating book. He was the OG when it came to SLQs. And each series, each year, he breaks down by kind of grade percentages. He talks about how many different types of, he has original documentation kind of photocopied in there. He talks about how many coins come back with a full head designation, which is one of the ways that people collect Standing Liberty Quarters. So it's a really good book. Anytime you can find a J.H. Klein book, even if it's one of the older editions, it's worth picking up just to kind of read through it and look and see what type of information is there. On to toning. Let's see here. What is this? Trav Drip 382. It's like sometimes the names on here get changed. What causes toning on one side way more than the other? So we're talking about toning, and there's a couple things that can do that. First, if you have an old roll of some kind, the side that is exposed to oxygen and the paper is at times more likely to tone. And it completely depends on the environment, right? So sometimes we call toning, and sometimes people call it environmental damage, but the reality is it all depends on the environment that it's in, because if it's in a dry, cool place, usually it doesn't have as many reactive elements in the air, whereas if in a little bit more humidity, you start to get that in with the sulfur that's usually in the paper and the oxygen, and it'll start to attack especially the end coins, but usually not as much the middle coins. Also, one of the things you'll see sometimes if you have an original roll of some type of coin is you'll see the edges of the coins are toned, but the rest of the coin is not. And it's the type of thing that doesn't show up on a coin when you look at it from the front or the back. You may only notice when you look at the edge of the coin, right, the third side of the coin. So that's one way. So you can have the end coins sometimes get a little bit more action than the middle coins. Also, sometimes when coins are just like in old holders, right, just some old holders like this guy's pretty rough. What you'll see also, it's the coin, the metal, interacting with the elements around it. So you've got lots of times sulfur in the paper or the cardboard that'll interact, and sometimes the coin will be white on one side and you pop it out and the other side will be toned. And I've done videos in the past where we were looking at old Whitman albums and we kind of tore them apart, and you could see some of the coins were toned that way. Not all of them, and a lot of the coins end up with toning on both sides, but those are two of the ways that a coin can really end up with toning just on one side. Andy, we're going to stay in that realm. Andy here, Andy B, says, whenever a coin has significant toning on one side and blast white on the other, it gives me pause, like it's been doctored, dipped in the blast white side. In my experience, natural toning, especially if one side has a lot of toning, will occur on both sides of the coin. So deeper down the toning rabbit hole a little bit here. I'm trying to really think about just how true that statement is. I would say that there's a ton of times when I see coins with toning on both sides, not just one. You know, whether it's like ugly, darker toning, you know, sorry, Mr. Libertad, but, you know, that's a little bit darker toning on both sides. But, you know, once again, talking about the environment it's in, it's very likely that it's going to have toning on both sides to some extent. Now, having said that, I've seen a lot of really, really beautiful toned coins where it's literally just one side and the other side's blast white. I won't say that it gives me pause as much, and I understand what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing that you should just, it can be a sign for some things, but when I'm looking at toned coins, generally speaking, I'm looking more at the color palette and if there's anything else that's like a hint that something is wrong here. The color palette for me is always kind of the biggest one. There's just certain shades and colors. Like if the color of the coin is kind of like almost this like purplish blue color, this is more purple, but if you get really like that dark purple blue color, lots of times that's just artificial toning. Just a couple other little minutia comments about this is it's really, really hard to dip just one side of the coin. Like some people are like super apparently finesse at things, but you know, it's really hard to doctor with liquid one side of a coin. Let's put it that way. If you're talking about liquid, which is what we're talking about here, right? Because next question has to do with that too is Ricky, it's not Ricky Bobby. Ricky Bobby. Shake and bake. Ricky Born saying, what about EZS? Talking still about cleaning and toning and working on coins. We had talked about, we did a video showing, you know, just kind of what acetone can do to remove some of the stuff that's left over. Like you see once again in this example here, there's literally mold growing in there. Do you see that? That's mold spores, right? So the reason why sometimes you use chemicals to clean the surface of a coin or restore it or conserve it is because that's bad for the coin. So you've got to get it off there, right? EZS is a product that sometimes people reference. It looks like this. This is when people talk about dipping a coin, they usually aren't talking about acetone. They're talking about this. They're talking about taking a coin like this and making it look like this. Now it didn't, you know, not literally changing size, but just color, right? That is all. This is designed to remove really some light toning and fingerprints from proofs. People use it to remove other toning off of silver. Sometimes you'll see it used, overused, right? And it's the type of thing, I think I made a video a long time ago about how to use it, but maybe sometime again we can talk more in depth. But when his reference to EZS is this material, but like I don't recommend people really try to do this stuff unless you've really got a lot of practice under your belt. Neither of these chemical compounds are really for just playing with. They are acidic, and you need to be careful when using them. So in general, don't try this at home is a real thing. And I hope that explains a few things about toning, about what else you talk about, standing Liberty quarters, and all of the things, just all of the things. Everybody have a wonderful week, a wonderful weekend. Leave your thoughts, comments, regrets down below. I'm Ben the Coin Geek. You can join us again anytime. We pop up all of our videos daily at noon Tucson time, Monday through Saturday. So if you're not seeing videos daily, you can just check back and find them. All right, thanks.